I will say, in preparing for this, I don't think there is anything more intimidating than picking out your footwear as you talk to the CMO of Zappos. So hopefully I did okay. Just throwing that out there.
I could get you a code.
All right, hey, now we're talking. Deal is done, worth the Brand Innovators investment. We're good. No, seriously, thank you for doing this and for coming here and sharing your wisdom and your insight. Last year, you were named one of the CMOs to watch by Business Insider. So first question, how do you get on a list like that?
I guess you come to a Brand Innovators event, right? It would be my first suggestion. But no, I've been at Zappos 6 months, so very new into the journey, a lot of learnings, and really excited to be with this brand that has such an amazing legacy. The story you share is one that I get every day, which is an amazing kind of brand to inherit and get to work on.
Yeah, so I've been picking up a word in a lot of the sessions that I've heard today, and the word is authentic. And I don't think there's a more authentic brand than Zappos. So talk to us about how you keep up that authenticity, how that vulnerability that Lynn was so eloquent with, exists in what you guys do and how you bring that to your consumers.
It's a great conversation. I think for Zappos, what is most powerful is that, the brand was founded and has 10 core principles that exist and really do drive everything about the company. It is a culture that is not at all top-down. It is owned by every single individual. And it's something that I think every employee takes really seriously, like keeping that culture going, iterating it, evolving it, but keeping it true to its roots that are grounded in those principles. And there's examples that happen every day, whether we're virtual or on campus, of people correcting each other, checking each other, holding each other accountable to that culture. And so I think that's what keeps it authentic, yet also evolving, right? Because the company is over 13 years old. And our consumers have changed quite a bit since then. Obviously, their choices have changed. We still do the free shipping, so that has not changed. But the landscape has, and we need to be cognizant of that.
Yeah, so, and you guys are home to Las Vegas, right? So
correct.
Yeah, so this is
welcome,
homecoming.
Everyone.
So when you talk about that, and you talk about it permeating throughout the organization, and Lynn said enterprise-wide, so definitely picking up on that theme, how do you recruit for that? How do you actually get to build a team that, that exists in who they are and what they do on a daily basis?
Yeah. So Zappos has a pretty famous interview process, very well documented, that gets into a lot of cultural fit. So questions and really spending a lot of time with people, not in a traditional interview process. So before joining Zappos, I interviewed at Amazon, and I spent time at Amazon. It also has a very well-documented interview process. I will share they are nothing alike. So my interview process at Zappos, I think, was 2 days before someone actually asked me a question about work. It was questions about how I felt about the world, family, aspirations, current trends, pop culture, favorite shoes, feelings on memes. I mean, it was all over the place in a way that you were like, wait, are we having a conversation? Are we not? But very authentic, and really just wanted to get to know you as a true individual, like how you thought, why you thought the way you thought, why you made choices. How do you handle conflict? How do you, what was your self-awareness levels? Like all of those kind of things. Then we actually talked about work kind of conversation.
So let's do the same. Meghan and Harry, what are the thoughts? How do we feel?
Oh, I have so many words on this topic. You do not know the Pandora's box you just opened. Did we really think she didn't know she was going to have to curtsy? Can you just raise your hand if you honestly, come on, right? Yeah, so a lot of thoughts on that, but we'll sidebar on that one.
All right, and then shoes. You also mentioned shoes,
yes.
So I have to stop. So favorite shoes?
I have to confess, and I was very upfront. Like, I started my career, I interned during college at Reebok. So I grew up in shoes, and a lot of people who had a lot of passion for sneakers that I didn't, but I really admired. And now I'm back with a lot of people who have shoes as their love language and express it often to me. So I'm coming to learn more and more about it. Our CEO is a huge sneakerhead. He took a lot of care to give me a pair of shoes as kind of an expression of gratitude for a project. And the shoes were great. You guys, this is so humiliating. Okay, the shoes were awesome. But again, I'm not someone who really appreciated them to the degree I should. What I did appreciate was he spent a lot of time curating this pair of shoes for me and put a lot of thought and told me for 45 minutes why they were the perfect expression of shoes for me. And a lot of detail on the leather embossing, the color pop, why they were no longer available in this wave, how when other people saw them, they would understand that I was part of the culture. So I am learning. I am getting excited about it. And I'm very grateful that I have people willing to teach me.
I love it. By the way, you're talking to a guy who owns the original Reebok pumps and worked at Nike. So yes, sneakerhead here too.
Should I tell you what they were?
Yeah, what were they? Please. Yeah, suspense. They were Nike Dunks. Tiffany's. Those are pretty sweet. So I love it. All right. So now we got the culture part done. Let's talk work.
Okay.
All right. So Zappos. It's a pretty interesting business. Totally e-commerce, no brick and mortar. You're dealing with a lot of competition. Plus, you have not only channel conflicts, but you also have a lot of brands going direct to consumer. So how are you facing, and this is the tough one, right? So how are you facing those challenges? How do you perceive that in the marketplace? How are you expressing the value proposition of what Zappos brings versus all those other guys in the market?
Yeah, I mean, this is the question, right? And it's a conversation we talk a lot about and a conversation we have transparently with our brand partners, right? What is differentiated about us? How do they see us fitting in as part of their strategy, right? Coming from the brand side, obviously you want that direct relationship. You want to own that consumer. But I think most brands recognize that consumers are looking for choice and they're going to do exploration. They very rarely dress head to toe only in one single brand, right? And so as part of that conversation, we offer customer choice. We curate, we have exclusive product that we offer. We have collaborations and discussions, more of those coming year over year, that are really driven in who is shopping Zappos. And this is something we've done a lot of research on in the past 6 months. Excuse me. So really like digging into those consumer insights about how people feel about shopping online. Some of us in the room, raise your hand, love it. We feel like it's so much easier. It's so much simpler. I can buy it if I don't like it. I can return it at Zappos. You can do that 365 days later. Some of us hate it. We find it overwhelming. It's hard. I have to know exactly what I'm looking for, right? So on that spectrum, there's a whole different segment of consumers, and we're differentiating those experiences for them. So we think a lot about that journey and why consumers are coming and how to meet those individual needs.
I love it. So the retail journey is a really interesting one, and especially on e-commerce. So it used to be where your choices were limited to whatever stores were in the mall. Yes, I'm old. And there was a form of retail therapy that took place specifically within the shoe category. So, I know cart abandonment is certainly a pretty big issue with e-commerce. So how do you get somebody to pull the trigger when they've done that research, when they see something they like? What are those considerations that are going through their head? What are you folks thinking about as you try to get them to convert?
I mean, we are thinking about how we are bringing that consumer through the funnel before they even get to that page, right? All the information, research they're doing. But I will say, I think it's a mistake to think about a single journey, right? I think there is no individual path to purchase for a category or product. I wish it was that simple, Todd. But I think more and more context matters, right? Like, how I shop for an annual pair of Birkenstocks that I buy my Arizonas every year. I know my size. It's simple. That path is very different than me yet again in January committing to running and saying that there is a shoe that is going to make a difference to this conversation. And if I spend enough time researching which outdoor tread I need, that is going to be the game changer. Right? Very different paths to purchase, very different consideration sets. And I think as a marketer, we have so many more signals about where consumers are, what matters to them in those journeys that we can leverage to facilitate. And to your point, hopefully accelerate that conversion to cart.
Love it. So as you're looking at all of that, there's a lot of data that comes across the pipes, and especially as an e-commerce business. So the data that you're looking at when you're running campaigns, when you are running your marketing, when you are making investments in media, how are you measuring success? Is it all bottom of the funnel? Is it awareness? Is it full funnel? How are you actually doing that?
Yeah, I think, we look at campaigns holistically. And I'm a big proponent that as marketers, we've done ourselves a disservice to kind of separate performance versus brand marketing. I don't know who in the room has had a conversation with any of their finance partners and shared, oh, here's my performance budget and here's my other budget, right? We set ourselves up for a very ugly conversation. Because the immediate reaction is, we'll move it all to performance because I want every dollar to work really hard. Well, these dollars do work hard. We just call them something else. Who wants to have that conversation? So thank you. Let's change the term, y'all. So I honestly think, and we've changed this at Zappos, we talk holistically about every dollar is working to driving that conversation. And if we just look at things that are easily measured at the bottom of the funnel, everyone has seen this in the industry time and time again. It is a quick path to eroding our brand awareness, our brand value, and our long-term value with consumers. And so we really have to not take a quarterly perspective or an annual perspective, but as brand owners, we're thinking long-term, right? We're thinking 2, 3, 5 years.
I love the answer. Clearly, round of applause. People agree. So what you're really now talking about is a full funnel acceptance of what it is you're doing and what those outcomes are. So are we talking a multi-touch attribution type model? Are we talking about an MMM? Are you looking at econometrics for long term? What specifically is really driving the decisioning behind your investment strategy?
Yeah, well, one of the benefits of being part of the Amazon family is we have a lot of those tools to help us. So we look at a mix. And I think where we're shifting is obviously a lot of those models are based on historics. Mm-hmm. And the past 2 years have taught us that we can move away from some of the things that we thought were working really hard from us and do more testing real time, be a little bit more nimble in our measurement and think a little differently about what success looks like. So there is no silver bullet. I wish it was that easy. But I think also I'm a marketer who has honest conversations and says, I can't tell you exactly which dollar is making the biggest impact at every single moment. And throughout my career, when I've done that, I get actually a sigh of relief from some of the people at the table who are like, okay, it's an honest conversation. I can't tell you exactly which dollar in my supply chain is the most profitable either, right? So I think if we start to have those conversations across the organization, you build up that trust and say, okay, we're shifting. We're going to get a little better each campaign, every quarter, versus kind of say, this is the holy grail and everything's going to hit this ROAS and I can prove it back to each piece of creative at each point of display.
I love everything that just came out of your mouth. The fact that there are gaps in all of those measurement tools is fantastic. That you're able to look at all of them and just take the golden nugget from each in order to make those decisions. Identifying that history is a big component of some of that measurement is big. And especially, we're at CES. This is an innovation, marketplace. There are new tools out there that have no history. So when it comes to testing, what are the things that you're really looking for to make a decision on a test? Is it a gut feel? Because you don't necessarily have those metrics, what is really driving those decisions for you? And by the way, you've got a room full of vendors who are hungry for this answer.
No, I would say, and my team would laugh when you said gut feel, because their faces all went, ha, 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 ha. No, you have to, for us, I think we have a very clear hypothesis. You have to say, we think it's going to do X. If X is true, here's the implications of why it would scale for us, what it would mean in terms of moving forward, any slew of metrics, right? And these metrics are meaningful to us because they do tie back to things that we think about for long-term customer acquisition, retention, and value.
Got it. So 6 months in, you're at CES. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to walk the floor yet. Not yet. What has you excited in 2023? What are the things in marketing and media that you're really looking forward to or really super excited about?
I'm super excited because I think this is going to be a year of reinvention for many reasons. Some we may not like in terms of budgets and the economy, but also because we've had so much disruption and there's things that we walked away from. And I think last year there was a feeling in some conversations I was part of, well, we can still go back to this, right? The consumer has told us they are not going back. Right? They've changed their values. They've changed how they're spending their time. They've changed their media consumption. They've changed so many things. And as stewards of the consumer, I think of our role as to really champion ways forward, to be advocating for this is our consumer, this is the value we play in their world. We have to be thinking differently. And to do that, it's going to require us to kind of walk away from some things that were like, maybe we didn't feel great about, but no one questioned that we did them, right? They were kind of tried and true and they were proven playbooks and okay, yeah, we're going to do it again. I think those days are over in 2023. So I think we're going to have to be bolder. We're going to have to think a little bit more critically. And I'm really excited to see as a collective group what we come up with.
Yeah, it's so amazing how things have changed so quickly. So, that said, you can't name Zappos. You can't name Amazon. Name a brand that you think today is doing it really right. Someone that you are looking at and going, wow, these guys really are killing it.
There are many brands, small brands, that I look at and think are doing amazing things. And I always am like, well, it's scale kind of thing. But one I always go back to is I am a big believer in Airbnb. I think they continue to reinvent their story and really, despite a lot of hurdles in the marketplace, tell a narrative that resonates with consumers at scale around the world, which is a really challenging value proposition when you don't own the product, when you don't have employees that serve the product, when you've given up that control. So that's one I'm always watching.
I still have not won the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle lair. I'm trying. All right, so thank you. We're going to open it up to the audience for some questions, including shoes. So if you have some questions, please feel free to raise your hand.
Hey, I'm Julie Saxon. I'm the CRO at Weather. I love the culture questions. And I'm curious, both from the interview perspective of when you're interviewing people, and was there a question that they said you answered in the way that you wanted to that really made sure that you were the culture fit for the company? Because we hear a lot about culture, but I'm wondering from your perspective, what is is there like 3 things that make it the right fit?
When I'm interviewing people,
Yeah.
I'm known to be a kind of rogue interviewer. I definitely look for people. One of the big mantras in my teams is to disagree in silence is toxic. So I'm a big believer that every project I have been part of through my long career that has failed, someone in the room knew it was not going to work. They had a hint, they had a feeling, they kind of knew this thing that we weren't really talking about because it would upset something was going to go awry. So when I interview people, I want to know if they're going to be the people who speak up, even when it's not popular. If they're going to have not like be invited to the conversation, but feel onus to say things that can help the team. So that's what I'm always probing for, because I find in my teams, those people thrive.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Hi, Jessamine Myers with Oakley. So I wanted to just ask a question because I know that there's so much value in being really good at one thing. And when you think about Zappos, you think about shoes. But curious just as you think about 2023 and beyond, if there's other categories that you're looking to grow within the organization.
Yes, so this is one of our biggest challenges, and it gets into some of our conversations of positioning of shoes because while we do have quite the legacy in shoes, we actually have an amazing portfolio of products in apparel, accessories, categories that go far beyond it. So it's really how do we help people think shoes first? And we're doing some great work that will come into the marketplace this summer to talk about how we believe that shoe styling is kind of our unique differentiation. There's a whole world of people, again, I'm learning about them, who start their outfits with the shoes first. And that changes your whole perspective on your attitude and altitude.
I heard a couple giggles, so there are some of those folks here.
All right. Can you guys see me afterwards? And we'd love to like have you make a quick TikTok for us.
All right, we have time for one last question.
Hi, my name is Brian Chapp. I own a company called Tech Recipes, focusing on a consultancy that activates media.
You don't say.
You talk about being radical, having some difficult conversations. So my question to you is, what's one thing that you believe that you're doing wrong that you need to rectify?
Ooh, I love that. I am really dissatisfied right now with our media mix. And I think to the conversation, we got comfortable with things and we're not moving fast enough at pivoting those. So that's something that, again, smiles from my team right now. Apparently, it's not a secret, so that means I'm being clear. But yes, I think like we're a very vocally self-critical group about, again, speed and how, like, if we see something, are we actioning on it fast enough?
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Fascinating session.